You're listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. It's about time that we invest more in our financial literacy and work towards building generational wealth. If you think you're ready to do the same, then you've come to the right place. Alex, Marlon, y'all ready? Let's get this bread.
What's good, everybody? It's Alex Camuña here. We are back with episode 19 of the Money Monopolizers podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Marlon Walls. Marlon, how you doing today, bro?
Bro, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually in Houston right now, so I got a little bit of a different background. I'm just coming to visit my family, so check out a couple of my high school and my alma mater games right now. But those are all over with, actually. I don't want to talk too much about it. But neither one of them went too well, unfortunately. But I'm glad that we have both our rental and our flip going pretty well right now. We closed on the rental and we are officially getting the ball rolling on the flip. I'm excited for both of those and to get completed with those projects to keep moving forward. How about you?
I'm good, bro. Good old Pearland. I can see it. They lost?
Yes, they did. 40-29, I think.
Boy, they cheese.
Man,
dang,
hurting, bro.
Well, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm just chilling. I just filmed the first Whiteboard Wednesday video, so hopefully that'll come. If you listen to this, it should have came out yesterday, so go check that out. It is about, I'm just talking about what financial freedom is and kind of using that to visually explain it. I think it's gonna, a lot of people learn a lot better visually. And I'm one of those people too. So I think it really will help people. It's just I don't know. I think that one will be about 10 minutes long. So go check that out. And, if you like that, give that a thumbs up on YouTube. It should be on IGTV too. So yeah, go check that out. The real estate business is going real well too. We closed on that rental, so hopefully we start doing work on that in Houston this week. And then the flip, after a month-long delay, is finally back on, and the contractor's back working on it. But it is what it is. Like I said last time, it just comes with the territory. But yeah, we'll keep you all updated on that. You could check out my Instagram to see progress on that. Hopefully I'll post something at the end of next week, or I guess the end of this week if you're hearing it on Thursday. So, but let's get into this episode. We got another good episode for y'all this week. Like I say every week, this week we are talking about leveraging your 9-to-5 job to subsidize your side businesses and investments. That is a long title, but that's what we're talking about. Last episode, we talked about you scaling your income, how you can scale your income to achieve financial freedom. And we mentioned throughout that episode that one of the best things you could be doing is leveraging your 9-to-5 job, right? So you can subsidize your investments in many different ways, not just, financial subsidizing, but, networking and, leveraging resources and all those kind of things too. There's a bunch of different ways to leverage your day job that, can help you reach financial freedom. And we're going to kind of touch on those today and try to get into detail on some of them, right? Because the thing about it is that I think a lot of people, there's a stigma that a lot of people or most people believe that it's either you have a 9-to-5 job or you're in entrepreneurship, right? But it doesn't necessarily be that. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way. There's a lot of advantages to actually having a day job before you become an entrepreneur. And I know we throw a lot of shade at 9-to-5s, but there's not really nothing wrong with having a 9-to-5 job while you're building your business. A lot of people have done it, and a lot of successful entrepreneurs have worked for the man before they started their own business, right? I mean, look at Robert Smith. If y'all don't know who Robert Smith is, if y'all remember back a few months ago in May, the black man that paid for the entire graduating class of Morehouse in Atlanta, he paid their entire debt off. And literally it was, I don't know how much it was. It was like tens of millions, but he paid their entire debt off for that entire class of 2019 for the graduating class of Morehouse. Go look him up. Robert F. Smith. He is, I can pretty much give you a background of him because, I mean, he's honestly like one of my idols. Yeah, Marlon knows. I talk about him all the time. That is like one of my idols now. emulate a lot of the things that he does, or I try to, right? But he's the CEO of a private equity firm called Vista Equity Partners. And the reason I mentioned him in this episode is because he too worked as an engineer when he graduated from school. He went to Cornell and he graduated with a degree in chemical engineering, and then he worked at Goldman Sachs in investment banking. So that he got his start working a 9-to-5 job, obviously, after he went to school, and he leveraged both of those into creating a company now worth billions of dollars. He himself, he's worth $5 billion, and he recently passed up Oprah as the richest Black person in America. So, obviously, that is an idol of mine for many reasons. But yeah, and I think, we kind of have a lot, like, similar paths. So that's why I kind of really, really admire a lot of things he's done. But yeah, I'm going to kind of, touch on him a little bit more to, make our points throughout this episode. But the point I'm trying to say is, like, I mean, yeah, a lot of people think it is 9-to-5 or entrepreneurship, but honestly, I'm a culprit of that too. Because I know sometimes for me, I'll be at work and I'll just be at my cubicle and I'll be like, dang, man, I could be working on my business right now, but here I am working this dude's business. I'm making this man rich, bro. And that's just how I be feeling sometimes. But because the problem with a 9-to-5 job is that it trains you to mind someone else's business and not mind your own business, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people never realize it, or they don't care to. That's like it was actually one of the chapters in Rich Dad Poor Dad, chapter 3, mind your business, not someone else's. Yeah. So that's how I kind of be feeling. But when I'm at work, I gotta, if I let myself keep thinking those thoughts, I gotta reel myself back in so I don't get fired for me. Because I know for me, the way it worked for me, I'll like start getting in my thoughts, be like, oh man, I can't believe I'm doing this. And then I'm gonna start thinking of this and thinking of this. And then before you know it, I'm sitting here putting a business plan together in my cubicle for my business. So so I gotta like reel myself back in and know, I gotta like tell myself, okay, this job that I have and the position that I'm currently in, it has a purpose. It's one of the vehicles that I'm going to use that's going to get me to my destination of financial freedom, right? So my thing now is I need to maximize my 9-to-5 job to get to where I want to go to. So I would say that this episode is more geared towards, people that want their side hustles to ultimately become their main thing, or their investments to ultimately become their main thing, right? It's not necessarily for someone that just is okay with and I mean, yeah, you can take things from here, but that's who this episode is primarily geared towards, right? So you need to be for those people like, myself and those other people, you need to be looking at your 9-to-5 job as the boat that's going to carry you safely to your business, right? Or your investments. And if the boat sinks too early, then you're going to drown.
Yeah, if you drown, you better be a real good swimmer, because I just thought about a Steve Harvey story. I know I quote Steve Harvey a lot. Alex quotes Robert Smith. I always do a lot of Steve Harvey stuff, but that's somebody I really look up to.
Robert Smith, Richard.
Hey, I don't know. I like Steve's message a lot, and this was one of the really good ones. So he tells a story about when he first got into comedy. He like won the comedy night at like one of the comedy clubs. He won a grand total of $50, and he was like, "Hey man, this is for me." Like he was so proud of that $50 that he decided to go quit his job the very next day.
$50.
He won $50 and said, "Hey, all right, boss, I know what I'm doing for the rest of my life." So he goes to his job the next day. He quits his job, and then he regretted it pretty much immediately because this dude was homeless for 3 years after that.
I bet.
So that's him. He dove into the deep end. No, his boat sunk, and then he started drowning. He couldn't swim. $50. He said, "Hey, this is it. This is where I'm going from here on out." So he tells a story about how he's homeless in his car for 3 years. And instead of doing something as extreme as quitting your day job because you want to pursue your side hustle, that's why it's so important to leverage your income and start by saving. And honestly, it reminds me of the book that I read last year called Set for Life. Set for Life is a book by Scott Trench. Of course, we got to plug. He's one of the people on Bigger Pockets podcast. Yeah. Yep. Don't worry about that. But the book has a lot of good information in it, honestly, and it's really geared towards people who are first starting out, like out of college, and getting to like their W-2 employee jobs where they're working a 9-to-5, and first getting into corporate America. And I do want to put like a disclaimer out. if this book is for people who are not happy with their current job, so that's not saying that if you do like your current job, you don't have to read it, but it's very good as far as changing your mindset to how to utilize your money when you first get started out with working. And what he does, he lays it out into 3 stages of achieving early financial freedom, like within 5 to 10 years. And I think the first one in particular is relates closely to our topic that we're talking about today, where he talks about like leveraging your earned income through frugality, where he says the goal is to save at least 50% of your income and to build what's called financial runway. Financial runway he describes as the number of months that you can survive without having to rely on any salary income. So that's like how much do you live on per month? So imagine if you live off of $2,000 per month, you need to save up $24,000. So that way you can have a year's worth of financial runway in order to take certain risk and look for different opportunities. And that don't mean you had to quit your job still, but like for our instance, I know how we did house hacking or like a production-based job. You can look for different things like that. And he gives a lot of good action steps along the way too, like creating a budget, eating out lists, and some are more extreme, like riding your bike to work, so moving closer to ride your bike and stuff like that. He says a lot of, you don't have to take every piece of advice, but this is like an extremist version to achieve early financial freedom as soon as possible. But yeah, I do want to recommend that book because has a lot of good tips in there as well.
Yeah, that's a good plug. Yeah, you ain't never gonna catch me riding my bike to work. But
hey, nah, bro.
But yeah, the way I kind of want to structure this episode is, I feel like I say that every week too, but the way I do want to kind of structure it is to kind of explain like the 3 primary ways you can be leveraging your 9-to-5 job to benefit your side endeavors or your investments, right? And the first way that we want to touch on is, I think probably the most important way, is that your 9-to-5 job is your financial runway to kickstart your business or investments, right? So this is the most obvious way you should be leveraging your 9-to-5 job, right? It's the financial pathway for you to actually become a entrepreneur, right? It's the thing. The 9-to-5 job is going to subsidize or fund your business and investments, right? Because a lot of people, and this is literally, I've heard stories. A lot of people, they'll leave their job to start a business and have $900 in the bank. I'm like, bro,
or be like, see, with $50 in the bank.
So, like, bro, what did you think was gonna happen, bro? Like, come on now. Good luck with that.
I was finna be rich.
Yeah, all right. But to be honest, it doesn't matter what your day job is. You could be an accountant, engineer, a construction worker, a doctor, a cosmetologist, a chimney sweep. It don't matter what your day job is. The biggest thing here when we're talking like leveraging your job financially to subsidize your side hustles or side business or investments, the biggest thing is living below your means and using the extra income to fund your business and investments, right? This is the way, like, you're gonna, if you can do this, well, I don't know how to say that. I guess if you can successfully do this, or depending on how you do this, this is how you're gonna be able to tell if you're serious about it or if you're just wishing for it. If you can seriously sit down and make a budget and you say, okay, I don't need to spend this. I don't need to spend this. I don't need to spend this. And you can live below the means that you've been like previously living on, then that's how you're going to know if you're serious about it. Because if you're not serious about it, you're going to, you're not going to really try to do those things. What your money is going towards every check is going to be the thing that tells you if you're serious about it. So, and another thing that goes along with that, and I think this is really huge, is you got to be able to pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. We talk about this all the time. Before you pay any bills, you have to set aside money for your businesses and investments, right? It's imperative. This is literally the way to achieve, financial freedom through your investments. You have to be paying yourself first. If you pay your bills first, if you pay your food or whatever, if you're doing all this other stuff first, and I'm not saying don't pay your bills, but if you do all this other stuff first, you're going to just say, oh, I'll just, stay with it. I'll just save whatever's left. And most likely it's going to be minuscule. So pay yourself first and then, take away from other things.
Yeah, I want to put a quick comment on that, because pay yourself first. That's exactly what we were doing back in 2018. Well, I guess last year, 2018, but this year almost over. It's crazy how fast it's going by.
Yeah.
But yeah, last year when we first started, when we first had the mindset of, hey, we want to buy our first house hacks, that's exactly what we started doing. We started paying ourselves first. When we got our paychecks, we would immediately put, that's because we were also read Set for Life. That's why I still recommend that book. We would put 50% of our income straight into our savings account. Whatever we had. Yeah. So, and then we have more left over after you pay all your like main expenses, like your rent, your food, I don't know, gas and whatever. Once you get all your essentials out the way, now you just put everything else to the savings account. You don't just say, oh, it's all my fun money now. Yeah. No, because that's the mindset of somebody who's going to end up poor middle class the rest of their life. Because if you start supercharging your way by saving right now, it's going to just propel you forward as far as what your capabilities. That's why I think so many people feel like buying a house is like a big daunting task, because they never think to save their money, or they've never done this before. Like, this is why they like, oh, this is such a big endeavor, such a big task I'm about to undertake, because they have no foundation of financial literacy to say, oh, let me save this money and budget it. That way I can be able to afford something like a big ticket item.
Yeah. But
I would say all this stems from delayed gratification. And I know you mentioned earlier about living below your means. And I think that's like I talk about this so much, delayed gratification. This is my favorite term, I think, of all of financing, because it's like a foundation of financial literacy, in my opinion. And it's crazy because no one does it, but this is literally the thing that separates the wealthy from poor and middle class. And I thought of an example. My cousin was telling me a story about how he just got his job because he just graduated high school. So he just got a job out of high school, making a couple $100 every other week, I think, or a couple $100 a week. And he says that he still doesn't have any money. I'm like, so you just went from making $0 last year, and you making $2 per week just about, and you still are poor. How's that working? Because that obviously means that you just suffer from something called income creep. Because magically he went from buying Wendy's eating out at places like Wendy's or McDonald's to eating out at this fancy soul food place where he spent all his money there randomly. So I'm like, okay, so this is like a stage. This works in stages. We start off at making a couple $100 a week, then all of a sudden you start making a few $1,000s a week, and all of a sudden you start going from soul food. Now you're buying soul food along with some luxury tiles. I think you like put out a post one time with Oprah. Yep, about like how she starts buying the best tiles, and it scales as she makes more money, and that's that income creep that we were talking about. The problem with that is that as what is in that race cycle that we talk about, and you never are able to scale or start making bigger purchases or start generating wealth as a result. Like, you never have money for investments or anything. And I think that's a big foundational thing that people need to learn about as far as financial literacy and budgeting their money.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And I think the financial aspect of this whole thing is the most important, because, I mean, that's the whole reason you're doing this, right? Everyone's whole goal in this is to make money and earn more money and keep more money and invest their money, right? So you have to have laid that foundation down, because even, the way you're handling your money when you have a 9-to-5 job is going to be representative, and it's going to translate to the same way you're going to be handling it whenever you have your side hustle or your investments, right? So now that if you're making the extra income from your side business, what are you doing with it? How are you handling that money? You don't magically just learn how to go handle more money once you get more money. No, you still gonna use the same mentality you had with making this income as you had with this income, right? So you got to understand that financial literacy is not a side effect of wealth. It's the other way around. Wealth is a side effect of financial literacy. So you have to lay down that foundation to get to that point, right? So
yep, exactly. Anyways. That's why NBA, NFL players, like you mentioned before, they will end up right back broke where they first started at once they are finished with their professional career, because they never gained financial literacy while they were playing or before they were playing. So basically, you were just giving a poor / middle class person a whole bunch of money, but you never give them the knowledge of how to utilize it. So that's why giving a poor person money does not help them in the grand scheme of things.
What's that? Facts. So Yeah, so that's the first way. The first way is through leveraging your finances, right? And getting to that. So the second way to leverage your 9 to 5 job is by taking advantage of every opportunity and resource that is available in your current situation or your 9 to 5 job, right? Because I know a lot of people they'll say stuff, and I hear it all the time. A lot of people say they want to quit their job and go to the next one, right? In hopes that the next job is the one that's going to satisfy them. But that's not necessarily the way to approach it. That's not the way you should approach it. Obviously, every situation is different, but most of the time, most people just want to get a job that's easier than the one they have. They don't want to necessarily work as much as they have been working, or they don't want to, work as hard, I think is a better word to say, as they have been working. That's usually is. Obviously there's extreme situations, but I think for most situations, a lot of people just are doing that because they don't want to work that hard. And to be honest, instead of quitting, and I think this really just applies to any 9 to 5 job that you're working, instead of quitting, you should be, choose to use that job that you're currently in as an opportunity to develop the skills that job requires that's going to help you in business down the line, right? Every job has a specific set of skills or, qualifications that is needed to do that job effectively. So you should be able to take advantage of that situation that you're in to develop and hone in on those skills. And the best way to do that is to just crave excellence in your current job, no matter what your job is. Like I said, it doesn't apply to extreme cases. Like if there's something crazy going on, then yeah, you need to quit and go somewhere else. But for most cases, you should crave to be excellent, crave to be the best. Before you want to do the next thing, you should be able to say that you're the best at where you currently are, right? You've reached your max potential. You shouldn't necessarily think that just because you get a new job, it'll immediately be easy and you'll be great at it. The same things that made you suck at, the other job or the current job that you're at are going to make you suck at the new job, right? So you need to set a high standard for yourself and evaluate yourself at your current job and ask yourself if you're truly doing everything you could be to maximize what you get out of it. This applies beyond, everything, even or beyond. This applies beyond just this too. It's really to everything in life. So, like I said, every job has a different set of skill sets. So you need to, be honing in on that. Like if you're a waiter, your job requires you to have communication and customer service skills. So every day you should be going to work, you need to be putting an emphasis on honing in on those skills. You should be telling yourself, okay, I'm stuck at this job, or even if you're not stuck at it, you should be telling yourself, okay, I'm here. I need to take advantage of this so I can develop my, customer service skills and my communication skills. No matter what your job is, figure out what it is that you need to be effective at that job and hone in. Use it as an opportunity to develop that skills. Because I guarantee you down the line, even whenever you're doing your side business or whatever, those skills are going to be required at some point down the line. So use that as an opportunity to hone in on those skills, right? That's a way you could be leveraging your current day job.
Yeah, this reminds me of when I was, this like a couple weeks ago, I was talking to this mechanical engineering advisory council guy. That's a mouthful in itself. But he was basically giving words of advice to people who are trying to go into industry. And I was talking to him about like how I wouldn't mind like joining a startup company or something like that, because I think that that's a great opportunity to like, for one, be like more of a production base in general, but more so than that is that you get to learn a lot of different experiences because you probably wear more than one hat at a time. You get to learn a lot of like as far as your responsibilities. So there's a lot of opportunity to learn a lot of different aspects of working a job at like a startup company. But what he was basically telling me is that even if you don't like whatever you're like, if you get into that startup company, you don't like it, don't just quit and be like, oh man, I hate this job, and then just be dreading every day that you go. Instead, you should be going to the mindset of, okay, I don't like this job, so let me learn what don't I like about it, so that way later on I can make sure I don't do the same thing. As I grow higher up, maybe I'm going to be, I may be the boss one day and not know what not to do in that position to make sure that somebody doesn't like what I'm providing as a job for someone else. And a key thing that I took away from that was he said that there are no failures in life. There's just success and there's lessons. So go into it with a mindset of I can learn something from a job that I don't like, or be able to leverage it to be like, okay, since I don't like it, let me find a way to make me to help me learn from this instead.
Yeah, definitely. There's a learning situation. There's a learning opportunity in every situation, no matter if it's good or bad. There's a chance to learn and there's a chance to grow and develop. That's why we shouldn't necessarily be afraid of failure or doing bad at anything. Because I mean, you're not failing at it. You're learning from it. So approach it with that mindset. And I think another, to build on top of that, another way, besides using that time to develop your skills, another way to leverage it, leverage those resources is to take advantage of the built-in networking opportunities that your 9-to-5 job gives you, right? Your 9-to-5 job has, you literally are put into a situation where you are forced to work with other people that you necessarily wouldn't have worked with otherwise. So it's giving you networking opportunities to meet new people, new clients, new coworkers, new people from all over, right? So you should be treating every person you meet or all your coworkers or whatever as a potential connection for your future business. So yeah, I mean, utilize those coworkers, those colleagues, the clients, all of those people to your advantage. They don't even need to know that you're utilizing them. You can just be doing it in your head and talking to them and not taking advantage of them, but using them, right? Because they, how does the saying go? If you can't be used, you're useless. So, let's say if you wanted to start a catering business, right, or a restaurant, then every one of your coworkers that you're talking to is a potential client of that future business. Who are they going to go to first when they need catering? They're gonna think about you first because you're the one that been talking to them and telling them, oh yeah, I'm doing this catering business, right? And you're telling them and you're putting it in their head that you are starting a catering business, right? For my job, for example, right? So I work in single family land development, civil engineering. Obviously in my job we develop neighborhoods for single family master plan communities. That's essentially what I do, right? So we design all the streets, the drainage, all the infrastructure and everything, right? So at my job we have a vice president of real estate because we have a real estate arm of our company just because they want to do that. So whenever I started working there, I was always talking to him about real estate, and I was always trying to learn about what his experience in real estate was and who his connections were and what his network was, right? And it actually turned out that he owned multiple rental properties and does development on the side for himself. He owns a development company that literally does what our clients do. So now that's a connection that I gain, right? And also his connections become my connection. So now his network essentially becomes my network. And that's literally because I just asked him and I talked to him about it. And I knew he did that because that's his job title. So I just talked to him, right? So that I say that to say you should be telling everyone what your business is. Everyone. Tell everyone what your business is. You should have a 30-second elevator pitch just to get ready to tell people what your business is at all times, right? And this is applicable even outside of work, wherever you are. If you want to be successful at this business, you honestly need to be the first person that they think of whenever they think of whatever it is your business does, right? People need to understand the importance of occupying the mind share of people, right? Marlon, if I ask you to go to the store and pick me up some toothpaste, right? What are you going to grab? What brand are you going to grab?
Probably some Crest or maybe Colgate or something.
Exactly, right? The minute your eyes see the Colgate and the Crest, you're going to grab it. So that's because Colgate and Crest occupy the mind share of most people. And even though I didn't tell you what brand to get, you knew Colgate or Crest would be a safe bet. And it's the same way with telling people what you do. If you talk to enough people over and over about what you do, you're going to begin to occupy the mind share of that person. So when they think of that thing, they're thinking of you. If I'm a caterer and I'm always bringing up that I'm in the catering business in conversation, then I'm ingraining into their mind that I am the go-to caterer. So when they need catering, who's going to be the first person they call? It's going to be me. That's why I tell everyone that I'm in real estate. And that's why I post my deals on social media. I'm methodically occupying people's mind shares as the real estate guy. I'm working to brand myself as that Colgate or Crest. So when they think of real estate, they thinking of me, right? So that's one of the strongest marketing tactics. Once you occupy people's mind shares, it's crazy what's going to happen. Even beyond like them thinking of you, even when someone asks them about, hey, do you have a recommendation for so-and-so or for this person or for a caterer, who's going to be the first person they're going to think of? They're going to think of you and recommend you to that person. So that is what you need to be doing. You need to be approaching it like that so that you are putting yourself in position to be the first person people are thinking of whenever they're thinking about that specific thing, right? If you're not in that position, then you honestly, if you're not the first or second person, I would say at least, then you lost.
Pretty much, yeah. Either I'm gonna grab Colgate, I'm gonna grab Crest, or I'm like, oh well, I'll go to another store then. That's all I was looking for. But this all can be summed up into creating your own luck, and that's exactly like pretty much telling everybody what you do is a symptom of is a way that you can create your own luck. Because it's not always about what you know; it's more so about who you know. Because we can be like us with the podcast, we can be given great information, and we are. But if not, the people are not seeing it or relaying information, then we're not growing as a podcast or just as a platform. That's why it's about more so about who we know than just what we know. We have a lot of good information in general, so that's why it's good to share those posts and make sure you just put that in there real quick. But that's why I hate when people say you have to be born into riches, because instead of having that mindset of, oh, I can't do it because I was never born that way, instead flip your mindset to think, I may not have started there, but I can end up there as long as I am creating my own luck by telling everybody what I do and executing on what you say you're going to do at the end of the day.
Facts. It's a good point. And I mean, I ain't got much to add to that. So the third way that you should be, leveraging your 9-to-5 day job, to put to your advantage is through finding synergy, right, between your day job and your businesses or investments. So what is synergy? Synergy is like the dictionary definition. I'm gonna read you the dictionary definition. Synergy is the interaction or cooperation of two or more organizations, substances, or other agents to produce a combined effect greater than the sum of their separate effects. Mom's laughing.
Okay, let's break that down to plain English. Synergy is pretty much when two or more people or things are fueled by each other. So like my advisor always says, he always believes that two people together can accomplish more than two people working individually. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to, provide the dictionary definition so people understand. But I knew you was going to break it down. So yeah. But yeah, if you have a day job that synergizes, because when we talk about this, we're talking in the sense of your day job should be synergizing with whatever it is, or it will be good. It doesn't necessarily need to, but it'll be to your advantage if it synergizes with whatever your side hustle or investments are, right? Because a day job that does synergize with it allows you to take advantage of something at your day job and implement it in your business. So for me personally, I work in land development for single family master plan communities, right? So that's very, closely related to my side business of real estate investing or my investments, right? We work for clients that develop real estate. And my business is in real estate. My side business is in real estate, right? So a big advantage of that, and the biggest advantage is that a lot of the networks are going to translate into my business, especially in the future whenever I start deciding to do development. If I do decide to do that, then they literally are going to be the exact same contacts that are going to translate. So it's essentially giving you an unfair advantage over others. It's a good way, though, just because everyone has an unfair advantage that they can take advantage of. And mine just happens to be that I could take networks from here or resources from my day job and put them and combine them or use them to my advantage here with my investments. And one way that I do that all the time is whenever I do go out to project sites for my job, one thing that I always do is I always talk to the contractors, all the subcontractors that are out there working on the houses for those developers. I'm always talking to them just to get their contact info and find out, if they can come do stuff for me. Because one of the hardest things we talked about is in real estate investing is finding good contractors. So if I can take advantage of that I can literally be at work finding contractors because that's what I'm supposed to be. Or I'm already on the project sites, so I might as well talk to them too. So yeah, that's one way that it has been really good for me. And in addition to like the connections that I actually work with. Another thing too, because I remember on one of the houses we were looking to buy earlier this year, there was a question about whether it was in the historic district or not. And that was something that would have been hard to find out because it was just, I don't know, there was something going on. But I had a contact at the city that worked for the city that could easily get that information from me because I had that contact from my job. So I was able to find out that information other people wouldn't have been able to find it out, because I literally went to work, I called him from my work phone, and I asked him about it. So it just happened to work that well for me, right?
I mean, in your situation, that works very well because it goes hand in hand. Real estate and developing, and then being a civil engineer, that works pretty much hand in hand. So, I mean, everybody's situation won't be like that where everybody's not a civil engineer, but that doesn't mean that you have to shut your mind down and be like, oh, well, Alex is a civil engineer. I'm not a civil engineer, so I can't leverage my job to go along with real estate investing. That's not necessarily the case, because maybe say like you're a graphic designer. Or you're just a designer in general. You can be the person who stages homes or something like that. You can utilize multiple different ways of just think creatively of ways that you can leverage your job in order to subsidize whatever business or investment that you're trying to go into. And it works very well if you are able to find a method that does do that, because that's more of you creating your own look. Like Alex in his situation, utilizing his civil engineering, especially like his contacts, he utilizes those people in order to puts them in his network that help him out later on with his personal business and investments.
Yep, definitely. And I think that's a great point too, because if you're leveraging, it doesn't matter what your job is. Seriously, think about it like if you work in any financial job and you have aspirations to build a side business or investments, that there's definitely synergy there. If you're an accountant or a financial advisor, there's definitely synergy there. I think it applies, especially if you're in a tech related job and you have any aspirations to do a side business, there's definitely synergy there. If you're a web designer, that's going to help you with your business. If you are a programmer, that can help you with your business. If you do anything like that, that's going to help you with your business. Sometimes, even if your business isn't necessarily that, there's still an aspect of that in your business. So there's a lot of ways to take advantage of that, right? And for me, I know how important this is, because I turned down my dream job earlier this year because I knew how important this was, right? So earlier this year in May, I got offered a job the whole reason I literally became a civil engineer was to, design airports. That was literally what I always have wanted to do, this airport design, designing runways, aprons, tarmacs, air traffic control towers, all that. That's literally what I always wanted to do since I was younger. I don't know why. It's just I love airports, but that's what I want to do. And I got a job offer as a airfield civil engineer in Dallas earlier this year in May, but I turned it down. And it was freaking tough because that was literally, like I said, it was my dream job. I literally have been wanting to do that forever. But I had to turn it down because I know that job was essentially just it was like a carrot in the face of a donkey kind of thing, right? It was more so like a mirage kind of thing, because it was like, okay, here you go, come get it, here's your job. But I knew that if I took that job, it was going to slow down the growth of my business and specifically my real estate business and my investments, because the real estate market over there isn't necessarily, it wouldn't fit me as well as it does here in San Antonio. In addition to the fact that, I would be losing a lot of my networks and connections that I'm going to be getting from my current job here. So I knew that new job wouldn't synergize well with my true goal. Because at the end of the day, my goal is not to be an engineer. My goal is not to be an engineer for even within 5 years. I don't want to be an engineer. So I knew, okay, I'm going to take that job at what cost? It's going to delay my true goal of achieving financial freedom through real estate. So I knew I couldn't do that. I knew, okay, well, wasn't meant to be. So I just had to take that L. But it's good. It's all good because I know, so far it's worked out well. And I know it's going to continue to work out well. And I'll, be happy with the end result. And if I'm not, then I can always go get that job at the end of the day. It's just a job. I can go get that job at the end of the day. But I didn't want to do it now. Right.
That's exactly what I was thinking too, because I look at it as opportunity cost. You forego or forewent taking that job in order to continue to build your business and build your network and where you're currently at. But at the end of the day, once you become financially free, like in a few short years, go get the job if you really want to do it that bad. So it's not like you can't ever get it again, like it never will present itself. So it's okay I feel like personally to forego something that you really want because you have to do what you have to do right now so you can do what you want to do later.
Exactly. That's a great point. Because I know, if I was financially free and I really still wanted to go do that, I'd go try it out. And if it turns out I don't like it, I'll just quit because I'm financially free.
Exactly.
So it's a good point. But yeah, you gotta be able to just find some synergy between your job, right? If you're a real estate agent, just, for example, your day job is going to synergize well with anything real estate related. Doesn't matter what it is, if it's investing, property management, lending, or whatever, right? And think about Robert Smith too. I said I'll mention him again too. This is my boy, but he worked as an engineer at Kraft when he graduated from school, and he earned 2 patents while he was an engineer working there. And then he went and worked. He got his MBA. I think he got it. I don't remember, but he got a finance degree, and then he went and worked for investment banking for Goldman Sachs doing investment banking. Right. So both of those translated well to him being able to start a private equity firm that invests in technology companies. The engineering background allowed him to know what technology will be valuable. And then his investment banking background taught him how to read and evaluate firms financially. So now whenever he's the CEO of Vista Equity, of Vista Equity Partners, who they literally, their job is to buy technology companies and invest in them and make them more valuable. So he literally has the 2 core principles needed to do that job successfully. He has the technical know-how, and he also has the financial expertise. So that is a perfect example of finding synergy between your day job and your investments. It doesn't necessarily have to be like that, but you just have to think creatively, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think one last thing that I want to mention too with this whole thing as we wrap up this episode, whenever you find synergy between those 2 jobs, it's going to make the learning curve a lot less steep on the new job or on the side hustle. So it's going to be a lot easier to start a business that requires core skills that you've already gained from your day job. All right. Because you got to, think about like an NFL player, right? That let's say they wanted to do something else in the offseason to make some money. If they tried to go and be a soccer player, then the learning curve would be literally changing their entire body. They'd have to lose weight. They'd have to gain endurance. Their fast twitch muscles would have to become slow twitch muscles. All that would have to happen for them to successfully become a soccer player. But if they went and played rugby, then only minor adjustments will be needed, right? And you got to think of business in the same way. So, yeah. Look for those, synergistic qualities between the 2, and you'll be really successful. I think if you can do that, it'll be very advantageous for you. So,
in the words of Alice Camullo, what's that? Facts. But a good takeaway for this whole thing, just to wrap up this episode, is that seeking to achieve early financial freedom doesn't mean that that's your first step is to quit your day job. Instead, what you should be doing is utilizing what we provided here in order to leverage your 9-to-5 and supercharge your way while growing your personal network along the way.
Big facts. So yeah. Well, that's it for this episode of the Money Monopolizers podcast. New episodes will be released every Thursday and will be available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Just search Money Monopolizers wherever you listen to podcasts. We hope you learned something of value today. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you rated us and left us a review on Apple Podcasts, or hit us, leave a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube. I'm putting out, like I said, Whiteboard Wednesdays are Whiteboard Wednesdays are going to be coming out. So definitely go check that out. Came out yesterday. First episode was about, I'm just mentioning it again. First episode was about financial freedom. So go check that out. It's about a 10-minute video. Look at it on YouTube. Give that a thumbs up if you enjoy it. And yeah, you can find out more info about us on Twitter at The Monopolizers or on Instagram at Money Monopolizers. We post informative content on there that'll keep you engaged. So check that out and share those posts. But until then, we out of here.
You've been listening to the Money Monopolizers podcast, helping you take control of your financial destiny. To learn more about how you can be in control of your money, visit moneymonopolizers.com. We'll catch you next time when Alex and Marlon share more personal finance and wealth creation tips with you. Now it's time to take action.